Hello and welcome back to Pay Down Debt Solutions. I'm Jen. On this channel, we teach velocity banking. We teach you how to get out of debt, and we teach you how to get out of debt much faster with much less interest owed to the banks and the banking industry. Today, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about getting out of debt because that is the fastest way to wealth building. Something that we are no strangers to is debt, right? Dan and I found ourselves in debt many years ago. And we found a little thing called velocity banking, and we have applied the velocity banking principles and have gotten ourselves out of debt. We wouldn't be here today if this was not so important to us. And I know that it's important to you because debt is a chokehold, right? It strangles you. It makes you feel like you have nowhere to turn. It's stressful. It causes rifts in families. And you guys don't have to live there. That's not a place you have to live when you learn velocity banking. I want to share an awesome email with you that we got from a student of one of our students here. Here's what she says. She says, "Hi, Jen and Dan. I took all of your advice, and as of today, I am officially credit card debt free. I only owe money on my house and car, and that is it. Thank you for all you do to help people. I've watched many of your videos over and over again. Dan even made one for me and put it on YouTube without charging me a penny, and I'm here today with your help. Thank you so much." And I'm not going to say who it is, obviously, because I want to let this person remain anonymous. You know, we do that for you guys. But I just want to say, you can do this, you guys. If Dan and I could do it, and this woman can do it, you can too. Learn velocity banking, learn to change your trajectory just by changing the way you bank, and it will change everything for you. The quickest way to building wealth in your life is to get out of debt and to do it quickly. And you can do that with velocity banking, okay? So in all life and in all things, right? Focus, where you focus, your energy goes, right? So focus goes where your energy flows, I guess is really how I should say it, right? Because if you focus on something, anything that you focus on, and you drive all of your time, effort, energy, and resources into that, you will do nothing but succeed. You can't help it. It's, you know, it's like, it's a law, right? The more energy you put into something, the more you're going to get out of that something, all right? So, but you have to focus on it, right? In order to do that, to get yourself out of debt, you have to focus on it so that you can achieve that. And the ways that you can do that are, number one is to learn about it, right? Learn everything you can about debt and about money. Everything you can, because you're going to find, no matter what strategy you use, if you learn about debt and you learn about money, then you should be able to overcome the hangups that we have, because we all have hangups on money. Two, if you put all of your energy into that, if you put all of your energy into learning that new thing, doing that new thing with your money, you will be successful. And then three, put all of your resources on it. What are your resources? Well, your income, right? All of the money that you have, even down to your savings, you guys. You're not going to get wealthy off of your savings. You're going to get wealthy off of what you do with your money, the way you invest your money. Just sticking it into a savings account isn't going to be that for you, okay? So your money mindset makes a big difference in what you do and who you are, okay, with your finances. So you are where you are because of your habits and your beliefs about yourself and your finances. That's just mindset in general, okay? Mindset is where you perceive yourself, what you are to yourself. That is your mindset. How you view things is your mindset. A lot of times we need to change our mindset about money because sometimes we think money is the root of all evil. Well, it's not. Actually, money can do lots of amazing things, and lots of amazing things for lots of people who find themselves in bad situations. But you can do so much more with your money once you have more of it, right? So it's not the root of all evil. It can help people, but you have to learn how to get yourself out of debt to get onto that, all right? So how you grew up influences this, right? So how you grew up influences this for sure. So number one, if you're constantly seeking money and are fixated on it because you are behind or feel behind, then you're driven to attain more money, right? And a lot of times you don't know what to do with it because you weren't taught the right things to do with money. So you find yourself in a debt-driven situation because you just didn't know what you should do with money or how to act with money. So you take on all these payments and you get all these things you never had. That's normal. People do that, especially when you grow up without any money. You're trying to make up for that, right? By buying all of these things, okay? So sometimes that can be an issue. Now, 2, you see your job as the problem, thinking you don't make enough. Well, you guys, guess what? You might make enough money. You might, all right? So if you see your job as your problem, well, you could do two things, right? You can make more money at your job, or you can go get a new job. Or you might just do something differently with the income you make from that job. And then you might learn to love your job all over again, because if you don't feel the strain from your finances, right? The debts that you owe, if you don't feel that strain, you might find that going to work is actually pleasurable again. It's not this thing you have to do to get yourself out of debt. And you feel like it's this rat race to get out of debt, not just the rat race in general, but just to get yourself out of debt, right? So 3, you spend more than you make, and maybe you have a spend habit, okay? So some of you out there just are spenders. Some of you people out there are spenders, and you just haven't learned what to do with your money, or it makes you feel good and you seek those things that make you feel good. So you purchase things and you think things are going to make you feel better. But at the end of the day, they probably don't, right? They probably don't. So with velocity banking, okay, we can help you with at least 2 out of the 3 things here, right? So number 1, if you're constantly seeking money and you're fixated on it because you always feel behind, it's going to be learning to do something differently with your money than you're doing today. Today, you are traditionally banking. We are going to teach you how to do velocity banking to get yourself out of debt faster, just like our student over here got herself out of debt faster. Because again, the way to building wealth is to get yourself out of debt as quickly as you can so you can move on to building wealth and investing your money. Now, number 2, you see your job as the problem and you think you don't make enough. Well, that might be the case. Maybe you don't make enough, but maybe you do make enough and it's just what you're doing with your money. And chances are that's exactly what it is, because that's what it is for many people. It's what you're doing with your money, living in that traditional banking system and not knowing there are other things out there. Again, learn about debt and learn about money, and you will see there are other ways to run your finances. And one of those ways, and of course I'm biased, but I think it's velocity banking. Now 3, you spend more than you make and you have a spend habit. Well, that is the only one that velocity banking may not help you with. Because if you truly have a spend problem, and it's not just the payments that you have out there, okay, the debt payments. If it's just that you're buying things that you truly cannot afford, that is something that you're going to have to reach inside, look at your money mindset, understand why you do the things that you do, and you may have to correct that on your own, okay? So that is the only one that velocity banking is probably not going to help you out with. So today, I want to talk to you about velocity banking. I want to teach you how to change your life by velocity banking. Dan and I did it. Our lovely student over here did it. And then I want to talk to you about these students here who think that their income isn't enough, but it turns out their income is enough. It's just their mindset, how you think about money, okay? And when you learn something different, you're going to realize, I can do this, I will do this, and I'm going to do this, because it's all on you at the end of the day. And you guys, this isn't difficult. It's just learning something new, and it's learning what to do differently with your money. So let's get into this scenario here. We're going to talk about it. I will erase the board later for you so that we can actually work down the strategy and figure out what we're going to do for these students. So here we have an income of $66.70, okay? And their total expenses are $64.93, which means that their cash flow is positive by $177. We have a mortgage payment here for $250,000, well, and some change, okay? And it's $1,461 is their payment monthly on that. They have 2 car payments, as most families do, right? Most families carry car debt, and these people do just like everybody else. They're not leases. They do own these cars. Okay. Well, they own them with the bank, I should say. So the first car here is for $19,667. The payment on that is $604. It's at a 6.5%. It is a 5-year loan, and I believe they are 2 years in, okay? And that's why the balance is 19. I think it started out at 30 something, maybe 32, okay? They have left to pay in interest $2,176, okay? Because again, all loans are on an amortized schedule, okay? That amortized schedule is what we don't want to be on. We want to be on an average daily balance. We want to be on those lines of credit versus those loans. Remember, always a line, never a loan. That's our motto here. So we have car 2, $48,000. Okay, so $48,900 to be exact. They did obtain this loan shortly. Okay, not too long ago, I should say, maybe a month or two. And so their payment on that is $923. It is at a 6.7% interest rate. It is a 5-year loan. It will cost them at the end of that 5 years to do this loan $8,489. So it's going to cost them that much in interest, okay? So if you look at this without the mortgage here, they have $10,665 in just the 2 car loan debts, $10,665 in interest, I should say left to pay, because remember, they have paid somewhat on this. But their debt on that, their interest debt, if once they term those out, is going to be $10,665 from this point forward. Okay, so we'll pause there on that, and we'll talk about their other debts that they have. They have 2 credit cards and a line of credit, okay? So we have a Wells Fargo credit card at $12,192. That's our balance. And the payment on that is $255. It is at a 24% interest rate. It will take them 13 years, and it will cost them $28,099 to term it out at that payment amount, okay? That's a long time, and that's a lot of money in interest owed, all right? The Chase Freedom card here that they have is at, the balance is $3,841. $112 is the payback amount. That's their, their payment amount. It's at 23%, 4.9 years to pay that off. I believe that's interest in 1%. And it will cost them $2,475 to term that out. They have a credit union line of credit that they have a bit of a balance on. It's for $2,346 is their payment. The line amount is for 12.75%. It will take them 6 years at this payment, and it will cost them $1,172 to pay off $2,300 if they run it that way, which we would never suggest that they do, would we? Okay, so total in just their credit card and line debt here is $18,333. Their payments for this are $413. And then their interest debt on just these 3 is $31,746. So what can we do for these people? Okay, so what can we do for them? What are their options? Well, they came to us shortly after getting this car loan because they realized that they were in kind of things were getting really tight. And maybe they shouldn't have taken on that car. Maybe that payment was more than they should have, taken on. But they did. And so now they're wondering what their choices are. Like, what can they do, right? What changes can they make after following this channel and learning a little bit more? They thought, well, maybe there's something we can do with this line of credit to help us out. So there's a couple things they did do, right? So first of all, they know that they're going to use this line of credit, okay? And the balance on that is $2,300. The line of credit started out at $14,000. And like I tell you guys all the time, go to your bank and always ask for that increase. It's not going to do you anything but more good if you get it, and it's not going to hurt you if you don't. So you may as well ask, right? So they did go to their credit union, and that line of credit was increased from $14,000 to $20,000. So it helped us somewhat here now, didn't it? Okay. But so what are our options though, right? What are the options that we have? Well, we know that they have these 2 car loans. One is at $19,667. One is at $48,900. They have their payments. And when we do velocity banking, we always tell you to go after that biggest payment first, right? If you can do it, you want to go after your biggest payment to get that back to you. So in this case here, even at $20,000, they cannot take either one of these and put it on that line of credit at this point, right? Well, wait, Jen, they can though. They can put on this car because it's $19,667, but they can't, can they? Because they have a balance on it, right? So this credit union has a balance of $2,300. So that's probably not the option we're going to choose, right? Because the whole point in velocity banking is to pull payments back to us, right? By using that line and pulling payments back to us that we can then turn around and use as cash flow. Well, we can't do that if we were to chunk this down. So we can't do that option, right? And so that's not going to work for us either. And we don't want to just concentrate on this because we have obviously a balance on the Freedom Card. I'm sorry, on that line of credit. So we have to do something different here. So what we proposed for them was to start with these debts here. They total $18,333. So what we're going to do is we are going to begin with this, and then we're going to see where we are with these other debts and see if there's anything else that we can do, okay? So I'm going to erase my board here, and I am going to show you velocity banking in action and what we're doing for these students, and actually what they're doing for themselves, because all we do is make suggestions, right? So we give you guys choices, but it's up to you to make those changes, and that is what these guys are going to do. Okay, so here I have on the board for you what we have decided to do for, what we have decided to do with these students, I should say. When we took a look at everything, again, to recap, we know we couldn't take this car loan and roll it in. And we can't really chunk down this car payment because we're not getting anything back to us, right? So we wouldn't be in any better situation. Actually, we'd probably be in a worse situation. So we can't do that. So the best thing to do at this point was to take care of these debts here, the 2 credit cards and the line of credit. Okay, so those totaled $18,333. So we are then going to start with this, and we're going to let these run, because remember, as we're working the debts here, these are still going to be running, okay? So they're going to be running simultaneously. But we're going to take care of these first, and we're going to see how long that takes us. So over here, you can see what we've done. We've taken the $18,333, and we have then put our income into it, the velocity banking style, right? So for those of you that understand what we're doing here and have been watching the channel, you know that we put our income in and we run our expenses out of these lines of credit. Now, to our students' credit, I should say, she did her debts with a small line of credit. So she did hers with about a $3,000 line of credit. So just so you guys know, you don't have to do it with a large line of credit. You can use small lines of credit, and they will still help you in many situations by chunking it down. Now, for these guys, in order to roll all this in, they did need a larger line amount, but you don't have to have a large line amount. A small line can help you out quite a bit as well. Will it save you as much in the long run? Probably not, but it's still going to help you significantly. You don't need to have a personal line of credit at all or a home equity line of credit. You could do all of this with a simple credit card. And so that is something that makes velocity banking incredibly special. And how this works is, remember, all lines of credit are figured on an average daily balance. So it's the average that balance is from the beginning of the month to the end of the month where that interest is calculated. So when you're putting your income, the entire income that you have, into that line of credit, because lines of credit can be connected to your checking account, that means that every debt or debit that comes out of that checking account for your expenses, okay, so for your living expenses, your utilities, all of that can still be routed through that checking account, because what happens is that line of credit is going to pull from the line, go into your checking account. You're going to pay your expenses through your checking account that way, using the line's money, right? And then you're going to turn around and put your income back onto that every month, okay? So that checking account is special when it's hooked to a line of credit. Otherwise, you would be putting your money into the checking account and running your stuff traditionally, right? So you'd be doing the traditional banking system. Well, this works better because we are then dropping our balance on that line of credit, which lowers our interest, okay? And then we're freeing up cash flow by putting all of these debts onto that line. It's like a consolidation line, right? Now we've put all of those debts into that line, but what we're doing different than what the traditional banking system does is we're working it down with our income. Again, special to velocity banking, working things down with your income. So our income comes in, right? We started at 18,333. Our income comes in. It drops us to 11,663. So what does that do? That means it drops our interest rate, right? Because my interest rate isn't going to be calculated on my high balance. It's not going to be calculated on my low balance, but it's going to be calculated on an average for that month. So when my expenses come out and my interest that I'm going to figure for you comes out, it's going to put me at 17,917. So now I have to run a check. Is 17,917 less than or greater than what I started out with? Well, heck yeah, it's less than that, isn't it? So we know that our strategy is going to probably work, right? And we'll have to keep running it to see. Now, hopefully this person, won't have anything drastic or dramatic happen so that they go backwards a month, but it could happen. You guys, life's us. That can happen. And that's okay because velocity banking gives us freedom, the freedom to have a bad month or two, and it still doesn't derail you. It might slow things down a smidgen, but not much, okay? So again, how do we calculate this and where do we get our expenses from? Because this is totally different, right, than my total expenses up here. So here's how we calculate all that. So first of all, I know that my total expenses are $64.93, but I'm going to subtract off my $255, my $112, and my $46. So I'm subtracting off $413. Whoops. I just did that wrong. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I'm taking my 6493 minus my 413, which gives me my 6080, okay? And that is what my expenses are. Now, why, you say, do I get back this $46? I still have my line of credit. I still have that. I'm still, I still have to pay for it. Well, the answer to that is you do and you don't, okay? Because when your income goes into that line of credit, the payment that would have been due on this line of credit is satisfied, isn't it? Because that income then is my payment. So I don't owe that anymore. That $46 can come back with the rest of these, and it is now cash flow that helps me work my balances down. So in this case, I went for 413. I couldn't go for the 604 or the 923 because it didn't work out. I didn't have enough line available to me. But I am getting back $413, plus I'm using the cash flow to work all my debts down. So as you can see, I have to then figure out what this interest rate is going to be. And not the rate. We know the rate is 12.75. But we have to figure out what the interest is going to cost me monetarily, right? So to figure that, I'm going to take my high balance, which is the 18,333. I'm going to add it to my low balance of 11,663. And that is going to give me the 29,996, okay? So I've added them together, but now I divide that by 2, okay, which gives me 14,998. I have to divide that by 2 because I want an average. I'm looking for, again, the average, knowing I have a high and a low for the month. So my average is the 14,998. Now I'm going to multiply this by my 12.75%, okay? And that gives me $1,912, okay? That is for a year. That is a year's worth of interest. I don't need a year's worth of interest. I only need 1 month because I know month after month after month after month, I'm going to be working this baby down. So I'm going to divide it by 12, and that gives me my 174. So that gives me my interest rate. So if I continue to calculate, okay, or I'm sorry, if I continue to run this down, then you can see I'm at 17,917. I subtract out again my income, which drops me to 11,247 plus my expenses plus my interest. And I continue to go on and on and on, month over month over month, until this is paid off, okay? So I, again, start at $17,497. I bring it up here to show you. I bring my income in. It drops me to $10,827. I have to bring in my expenses. I have to bring in my interest. Drops me to $1,772, okay? So my checks show that I am continuously less than I was the month before. All right. So to work these three debts down, okay, to work these down, it takes me now 25 months, and it costs me, $2,770 in interest. For just these debts here, it would have cost me $31,746 if I left it on the traditional banking schedule. But I'm not with this Velocity Banking now, am I? I am making it go much faster. 25 months versus 13, 5-ish, and 6 years. That's a heck of a lot of savings, number one. And number two, time savings. Here, time is money. Time is money because the least amount of time you spend in debt like this, the quicker, if you're running it through Velocity Banking, the quicker you're going to get out of those debts. And the less time you're in that debt, obviously, the lower you're going, or the least amount you're going to owe, right? Because the longer time frame I'm in that debt, I'm going to owe more and more and more as time goes on. So when you shorten that time frame and you put all those resources, right, the resources, which is your money, back in, you're working it down faster. Okay, you're working it down faster. So here I'm at 25 months. Now, I want to take a look at where things are at, okay? At 25 months, Car 2 balance is at $29,240, and I have spent $5,790 in interest, okay? Now, I can't really do anything with this, can I? I mean, even if I were to put a chunk payment down, or if I took, $20,000, right, and slapped it against this, I still have $9,240 left, which means I'm not gaining any more of payments back to me at that point, right? I'm not. So that doesn't make any sense. I really can't do that. But what I have now, so I'm going to leave this alone. We know we've spent $57.90 at this point, and so to finish this out, I have another 3 or so to go. Okay, so we're going to pause on that. We're not going to do anything with that right now. So Car 1 is at $64.25 by the time the 25 months have gone by. Okay, so it's taken 2 years and 1 month. So now my balance is $64.25. Well, we know that our income is greater than that, right? So if I put this now on that line of credit and just work it down, I'm going to then be exchanging, right? I'm not going to be paying any more interest at that point, because I'm just exchanging. As I put my income in, my expenses come out, right? But because I'm not carrying a balance, I don't have any added interest. So if I do that, I can save myself $248 versus just letting this run, because we know that when it's on this when it's on this loan over here, I'm still paying interest. So what you're doing essentially is halting interest just by putting it onto the line of credit. And again, we're not going to pay any interest because we're putting our entire income in there, and so we're not carrying that. All right. So we can save about $248 in interest if we do that. Okay. So that means that, and it would cost, it would be a couple months, but again, that doesn't really matter at this point because we're not spending any more of our money in interest. We're just living at that point. So now what I have is I've spent $2,770 to take care of these three debts, right? And during that time, we know that this car balance is still running, right? And so the interest we've spent on that is $5,790 plus $1,850 in interest for Car 1. So that means I have spent up to this point, and the only thing I have left now is the remainder of Car 2. But I've spent $10,410 total, plus whatever it's going to cost me to finish Car 2, and we said maybe about $3,000. So if you think about it, you guys, To take care of all of these debts, it'll be $13-ish thousand versus 31,746 plus the 10,665 that it would cost me there. So I am saving myself time. I am definitely saving myself money, right? I'm saving myself time. I'm saving myself money. And guess what? On to wealth building at that point. So 25 years, 25 months. And I have eliminated the majority of my debt. The only thing I have left at this point, or they have left, I should say, is that car payment, right? That car, getting rid of that car, finishing that car out. They could then throw it on the line of credit at that point, whatever is left, if they want to, okay? As long as it makes sense and they're not spending more than the $3,000. Because remember, $3,000, they've already spent the $5,000 here. We have $3,000 left to pay it off there. We don't want to be adding any more interest, right? So we just have to do the math on that, which I haven't carried it that far to let you know if that would work or not. But in any event, we know that 13-ish thousand would be the most that they would spend at that point, even if they left that car 2 alone. So you guys, you see why we do this, right? You see why we do velocity banking, because it is advantageous to you. It was advantageous to Dan and I, and we have gotten ourselves out of a heck of a lot of debt. We saved ourselves a heck of a lot of debt interest, and we're on to building wealth at this point. We're on to working our money and letting our money work for us, because we learned some things, right? We learned some things. We put all of our resources in, every last bit of it. We learned about banking and finances, and we found velocity banking, and we applied it. We applied it. So you guys can do this just like our student did it and got herself out of all of her credit card debts. Now she's on to the next phase, which will be working her mortgage and her car at that point. And she's got this down, so she knows she's going to be able to do it. Have a great day, you guys. I hope you've learned something. I have hoped that maybe I've shed some light onto something for you. Have a great day, and we will see you in the next video.